Good afternoon to everyone. In this video, we present our project, which is named Internal Migrant Students, Identity Layers and Perspectives at La Salle University. This project took place in ICC class in the 9th semester of the degree. This was carried out by Sonia Beltran, Alexi Jaimes, Natalia Sotelo, and me, Juliet Cuesta.
Okay, hello everybody, my name is Natalia, and to start, it is necessary to understand what intercultural communication is and why it is related with the present project. The definition of intercultural communication is a discipline that studies the communication between different cultures or different social groups and how the culture affects the communication. Also, intercultural communication has some important aspects, among which are globalization, communication, non-verbal communication, cultural shock, and identity layers. This last concept is the most important concept that we are going to explain in this project and in the next section.
Hi, my name is Lacey and I'm going to talk to you about identity layers. If we want to think about identity layers, we have to think about the connection between identity and power in terms of two key layers. The first one is the social or structural layer, that are the structural framings of our identity. And the second one is the personal layer, that are the constructions of identity in response, reaction, and relation to these structural framings. When talking about social or structural layer, it explains that our identities are organized in line with historically specific conditions and structures of power. When we talk about structures of power, we talk about, for example, governments, economic bases, and educational and social institutions. And when we talk about specific conditions, it refers to certain historical periods and historical events. But when talking about personal layer, we talk about how we perceive ourselves. For example, what if I ask you to describe yourself? What is the first thing you mind? Maybe you think about your feelings, perceptions, and also you can think about your physical aspects. And it's okay, but in this case, we must think about our identity as a social construction too. As Halualani says, identity constructions created by different structural power interests influence how we personally perceive, understand, and experience our own identities.
And now we will see our base documents and we will show the relevant aspects for our project, taking into account them. Our two base documents are Intercultural Communication, a Critical Perspective, and Migration and Sociocultural Adaptation Experience, Social Identity Contact and Social Support in Migrant Colleague Students. Now we have on the screen the relevant aspects for our project. On the first column, we can see this important idea. Identity is constituted by two interlocked layers, the social structural layer and the personal layer. These two layers are often in conflict and tension with one another. We aim to see this in our project according to interviews, understanding that our identities are framed by larger structures of power and we reshape our identities in response to these structural framings. Now we pass to our second column. At first, both projects are sociocultural phenomena that have increased as a case of study in order to comprehend and compare the current situation of migrant students and what they have to pass through being in a different culture.
The selected population consists of internal migrant students from other parts of Colombia who came to study a bachelor's degree in Spanish, English, and also French at La Salle University, Chapinero headquarters. We have chosen three people belonging to the mentioned program. They are two internal migrant students. They are Pilar Araujo from Huila and Natalia Romero from Valledupar. And the third person is a student who has born and lives in Bogota. She's Jenny Mora, and she describes the internal migrant students. Their ages range are from 20 to 21 years old, and they are in the ninth semester of their degree.
To develop the project, it was necessary to take into account the general objective and three specific objectives. The general objective was to describe the interconnected layers of identity in migrant students at La Salle University, and the specific objectives were: first, identify the personal layer of migrant students at La Salle University; second, identify the social layer of migrant students at La Salle University; and finally, to relate the two layers in order to describe the identity of the migrant student. Now, what was the hypothesis of this project? The hypothesis of the present project tried to verify if the identities of the migrant students are influenced or not by the culture of Bogota City, where they arrive to study in La Salle University.
Through the Zoom tool, we conduct interviews with Natalia Romero, Pilar Araujo, and Jenny Mora. At the beginning of each interview, we ask them to introduce themselves by saying their name and age. The first one was Natalia Romero. The interview was conducted in Spanish. She felt comfortable answering the entire interview. The second one was Pilar Araujo. In this case, the interview was conducted in English, since for the participant there was not difficulty in this regard. And last but not least, it was Jenny Mora. She was the participant chosen by the two migrant students to describe the possible changes in their identity as a migrant students. After analyzing the three interviews, although there is an adaptation to the new environment and new customs, such as, for example, measuring the tone of voice when speaking, the influence of the new Bogota context did not really influence the identity of the students from other Colombian contexts.
The hypothesis of the present work tried to verify if the identities of the migrant students were influenced or not by the culture of the city where they arrived. According to the interviews, it is evident that identity is not influenced.